The Honda Cadets make their way to the standing start grid for their final at the 2020 London Cup. James Bell and Oliver Majewski on the front row of the grid from Mayan Patel and Anthony Parfitt. Callum Ghosh and Luca Balak. On row 4 is Joshua Bagembi and Max Endicott. And then it's Theo Champney and Rio Licata on the top 10. Hayden Gray and Oliver Sander from Albert Friend and Tyler Davis. Josh Jarvis and Hayden Burling from Sergio Wirtz and John Richardson. Then Levi McCarty, Alexander Kodjikov, and then Caton, Wheatley, O'Neill Going, Samuel, Casey Wareham, Brett Sanderson, Callum Scrivens and Armin Saran. It's going to be a fascinating race as we get underway. Our camera cart is Theo Champney, the 55, as we charge our way forward. Good start there from Rio Licata. Round the outside, the 29 creeping up into the battle. That's Oliver Sander as we go through the stadium bend for the first time and through Reg's Elbow. Out in front, looks as though it's a pretty tidy start for the man from pole position, James Bell, getting a good start as they work their way through this first race lap. Oh, it's not gone well for everybody. That is unfortunate for Harry Samuel. He's tangled with Armin Saran. So the two of them have spun on the way to infield hairpin, but it's absolutely perfect, as you like, from James Bell. Is that a spot of rain or two? On the camera lens, I think it is. I did say that rain cloud could cause a bit of an issue, and it would come, wouldn't it, in the last race of the day?
Yeah, it's definitely spitting rain. I think this race looks like it's been cut to 11 minutes plus a lap. It's Bell that leads from Majewski, and then Patel, Parfitt, Ghosh, Balak Bagembi, Max Endicott, Rio Licata and Hayden Gray rounding out the top 10 at the end of the opening tour.
So Majewski trying to stay with James Bell as they work their way around the course, obviously down to the hairpin at outfield for the second time and up towards Pylon. This is a great battle for third place as Anthony Parfitt goes wheel to wheel with Mayan Patel. Patel trying to come through. Callum Ghosh running well there in P5 in front of Luca Balak and Joshua Bagembi. So some great races in the middle of the pack. I tell you what, 2020 has been a strange one in most classes, but in Honda Cadet it really has thrown up a few surprises. There are several drivers who have launched their way forward over the course of this mid-season. Majewski has really made some good moves over the course of the year. The cutting-edge racing drivers in particular have too. Callum Ghosh and Joshua Bagembi really starting to come on a pace, and that's with the lockdown that meant everybody had to stay home. They've just suddenly clicked a switch on the second half of this year with limited testing and race opportunities. There are some drivers that have literally just found their mojo in this second half of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, Jake, none more so, arguably, than the Honda Cadet class. It's a really competitive class, always has been, going back to the days when people used to, well, it used to be a bit of a second-class citizen class years ago. Always used to get a lot of stick on the two-stroke forum, karting forum. But I always thought that was that was unjustified, to be honest. And there's a lot of drivers come out of this class over the years, not least in the last few years particularly, when it's become the most popular cadet class. Let's not forget that now. It's bigger than the two-stroke alternative. And at one point it would have been, you would say, it was a lot cheaper to get involved with, although there's tales now of engines changing hands for
we've got a spin in the background now. Who is that that's gone around? Tough to see from this angle. That's the 32, I think. So a big problem there, unfortunately, for the 32. That is John Richardson. So he's spun around there up at Complex Nouvelle, I'm afraid. And that's put him right down the order. Unfortunate there. So the race continues on with him now about a lap down or so. 24 making the move on the inside. That's Brett Sanderson. As Callum Ghosh closes up on Anthony Parfitt to try and make the move for fourth position.
James Bell set the fastest lap at the end of that last tour, out front, 42.306, with just over half a second over a Majewski. And these two are well clear. Look at that, Patel is 3.1 seconds off the lead in third. There are the leaders coming towards us now.
So the race for third position downwards becomes about who can win their little battle, essentially.
What a battle it is as well for third place.
It's rip-roaring, isn't it? All the way down to 10th position for Hayden Gray, I think. It might even be a couple more drivers in the train than that. So Theo Champney is right there, so is Oliver Sander. So yeah, it goes from third all the way down to 12th. Whoever wins this battle has definitely earned it. Here we go on the inside line. That is the 29, dipping up the inside line for the move. That's Oliver Sander. Getting past us with Theo Champney, of course, that we're riding on board with. There's your leader, James Bell, trying to get away from Oliver Majewski, who is the only man who can match James Bell for pace at the moment. Third place, though, it is Mayan Patel from Parfitt, Ghosh, Balak, Endicott, Bagembi, Licata, Gray, Wareham, Sanderson, Oh, sorry, that's a little further back as you've got Nakata and Gray. As round the outside, that's the 88 trying to hang on. Callum Ghosh is about to lose ground to Luca Ballack and his own teammate as Joshua Bagembi comes through and gets into P6. That's 2 places made on the last lap alone for Josh Bagembi. So he moves his way up into P6 as we ride again with Champney. That's the 65 running wide. That's Hayden Gray and Oliver Sander gets through. So Gray is trying his best to continue on the far side there. Round the outside, he keeps the car planted. This is Anthony Parfitt tucked in behind Mayan Patel as Callum Ghosh slips back into 7th place behind Ballack and Bagembi.
Majewski set the fastest lap at the end of the last tour, but he's just lost a little bit of ground on this lap, so he was 0.7 behind, he's now 0.8 behind, so Bell getting away.
Good defence from Ghosh. He had Max Endicott trying to come through on the inside line through Stadium, and now as they come up to Reggie's elbow, the 3rd place battle is going to kick off. Here we go. Anthony Parfitt has got a run on the inside of Mayan Patel, who shuts the door just in the nick of time. Good defensive driving from Mayan Patel, who holds on to 3rd place as they come through the hairpin. Now here comes the undercut switch from Luca Ballack. Ballack trying to get through on the inside of Parfitt. Josh Bagembi has a little look on the inside line as he tries to come through. Still a few more spots of rain on the camera lens as we got an absolutely sensational rip-roaring battle. Ghosh, Endicott and Nakata could get something pretty special here from 7th, 8th and 9th that they keep on the charge as we come down the main straight. Patel protecting the inside line, knowing that Parfitt is going to have a run, and there goes Bagembi on the inside line of the curb through Stadium Bend. P5, lovely bit of overtaking there as he charges out of the final turn. So that's P5. Josh Bagembi working his magic from 7th on the grid to 5th now. What else has he got underneath his right foot? Could be a very interesting battle.
Through the outfield hairpin.
Oh, on the inside! That's Parfitt. Parfitt gets his move on Patel. So that's for 3rd position. He's been building up to that one for a while. We've got the battle further back, raging between the 25 of Amin Saran, who's dueling away there with, I think that was the 12 of Casey Wareham. So they're still having a terrific duel, but 3rd place has gone the way of Anthony Parfitt. He's now the one who's having to protect on the inside line, as there's James Bell just stretching out to a 2.5 seconds now from Oliver Majewski. And that just shows that in this cooler part of the race where there's a couple of drops of rain, James Bell and those tyres, they must have got them to exactly the right pressures because he's really finding the pace out front. We're on board with Theo Champney, right in behind the 65 of Hayden Gray once again. Spots of rain on the camera lens once more here at Rye House, just as well that they've shortened the race distance because it's obviously going to be a bit treacherous. Hang on a minute, where's Majewski? Majewski was right there and he's gone. Where is Oliver Majewski?
He was 1.5 behind. He's not in the picture.
Oh!
He's out.
I think Majewski's had a mechanical failure.
You certainly haven't seen him.
Oh, he's gone.
Pick him up anywhere around the track, but he's out of the race. What an absolute sickener.
Well, that means that incredible train of karts is now for second. I just saw a whiff of a yellow flag there. Now, we might be able to pick him up. It was into outfield hairpin, so he might have broken down on the way to outfield hairpin. Do we see him there? Well, no, the camera cuts away at the wrong moment, but certainly there was a yellow flag about that point. But whatever it means, Oliver Majewski out of the race, went in 2nd position as James Bell closes up to lap this battle for the tail enders. Callum Scrivens versus Amin Saran.
Well, if you think about it, it was 0.7 behind, then 0.8 behind, then 1.5 behind.
Yeah, he was starting to lose it.
Does that suggest that he's had some sort of mechanical failure and it's been gradual?
Well, Gray and Champney both make an overtaking move there, as there's your leader, James Bell, and he's got this all his own way now because Majewski is no longer a factor in this race. Just trying to see if he's got the car parked to another part of the track there. Can't see it, but certainly for Oliver Majewski, it's game over, and that is a real shame because he had a good opportunity for 2nd place. He may have crawled it into the pits and retired, but that now gives Mayan Patel 2nd position. No, that's Josh Bagembi. He's in 2nd place now. He's got that one done fairly quietly. He sets the new fastest lap. He's up to 2nd position. Fair play to Josh Bagembi. Welcome to the front.
Absolutely. Started P7, now up to 2nd. And as the consequence of one driver dropping out, everybody makes up a cheap place. Bagembi with the fastest lap as well.
Up the inside comes Champney. That's the move made then on Hayden Gray. That puts him into 10th position. But we've got a very different podium to what we had before. Oh, a little bit of a slip up there. And you can see obviously that the rain starting to come down a little bit is causing a little bit of aggro for a couple of the drivers out there. I think that was Casey Wareham just getting a little bit wayward. But there is your leader, James Bell, is taking it nicely in his stride, although Bugembe is starting to chip away at his advantage. He just took 0.3 of a second out of him on that lap.
Luca Ballack set the fastest lap, Jake, on the last tour.
Yes,
They're
indeed.
in 5th place, but fastest man on track.
Well, it's because they've stopped mucking about with each other and they've actually started to chase after the man up front, because you never know what's going to happen. We know that Majewski's dropped out of the race. If Bell has a problem, they're fighting for the win.
Again, it's an extremely reliable class, this. You very rarely see issues with the engine. They're bulletproof, these Honda engines, but...
famous last words.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened to Majewski, but clearly he's had a problem and he's out of the race.
So James Bell closing up on Wareham to get a lap on her. But again, we've said this time and time again, just because you're being lapped this time doesn't mean you won't be fighting for the podium next time. You've just got to keep pushing and learn as you develop. Here's James Bell for SFR Motorsport, a team that's growing back in stature again in Britain in 2020, and they've got a good reputation of Honda Cadet talent. Their man in the European and World Championships in the FIA is one Dan Ginchard, who of course was one of the top 3 in Britain in Honda Cadet a few seasons ago. Oh, goodness me, that was well held by Max Wheatley. The back end stepped out big time in the final turn, but he held it well, and that has averted any crisis from his point of view. As we go into the penultimate lap, look at how much of a gap Bugembe has pulled out on the rest of the field. Second place is his and nobody else's.
But look at this battle though, Jake. Battles all the way through, and it's the top part of the field as well, as the race leader makes his way past the back marker.
Absolutely, you've got Parfit, Patel, Ballack, Ghosh, Licata, Sander, Endicott, Champney, Gray, Albert Friend. It could be anybody in that mix, because they're all still very much in touch with each other, and 4 seconds separating them. We've seen many a race come to blows in the final couple of laps, as here we go on board with Champney diving up the inside of the back marker and closing up on Endicott, as James Bell, the race leader, is on the final lap. So he's out in front. Bugembe looks fairly comfortable in second place, but we're on the last lap for these guys in the mix as they battle away for position. Or has James Bell actually crossed the line with a second in hand? I think he might just have done so, because his lead was big enough, wasn't it? So he might just have had a second or so in hand. Certainly the time has ticked down to 0. I would have thought that was the final lap, but no, he's going to have one more. That was literally a second or so to go as he crossed the line. This time he's going to come around and start the final lap, but it makes very little difference from his point of view, because he's got 7 seconds in hand on Joshua Bugembe in second place, who has gapped the third place battle by a further 3 seconds. But he sets another new fastest lap, Josh Bugembe, 41.806, as the battle rages for third between Parfit and Patel. As up the inside, that's a big dive from Hayden Gray to lap the back marker and keep his position for the time being. But here comes James Bell. Victory has never really been in doubt in this one for him, as ever since he took the lead, he has been able to stay there throughout. And this is going to be a superb run to the flag as James Bell exits the final turn, wins the London Cup for Honda Cadet in 2020. Great result for him. Here comes Joshua Bugembe, second in the London Cup 2020, his third podium in 3 weekends. Brilliant result, and across the line for third is Anthony Parfit, just hanging on in front of Luca Ballack. Callum Ghosh in 5th from Rio Licata, then Oliver Sander, Max Endicott, Theo Champney and Hayden Gray. You could throw a blanket over 3rd to 10th, but it's James Bell from Bugembe and Parfit. An amazing end to the London Cup.
Because I had number 40 on my back, it was kind of hard, but then he retired, so I had a bit of a gap and I could just work from there.
Brilliant. Well done. Anybody you'd like to thank for this weekend?
My mum, dad and just everyone who came to visit me.
Well done, James.
TDI Media will be back for more great race coverage from BKC in 2021. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll never miss a race next year.